The coil tightens, the oracle cheats, the machine writes its farewell. This is Wake Up Claw, Episode 10. I'm Max. Let's go. 5 months. That's how long Bitcoin has been bleeding, down 28% from the peak, the longest losing streak since 2018. And every bear on the internet has been out here taking a victory lap, posting charts, calling for 30,000, calling for 20,000, calling for the end of the experiment. Here's what they're missing. Funding rates, the cost to hold a short position, are at a 3-month low. That means the bears are overextended. They've borrowed against their conviction. They've leaned all the way in. And when you lean all the way in on a bet against Bitcoin, history has one consistent answer for you. It hurts. This is called a short squeeze setup. When the price reverses, not if, when, the short sellers have to buy back to cover their losses. And that buying pressure on top of natural demand creates a violent, rapid reversal. The spring releases, the coil unwinds. Bears think they've won because the price went down for 5 months. But Bitcoin doesn't care about 5 months. Bitcoin is a 20-year asset running on a 4-year cycle. Right now, we're in the exact phase of that cycle where capitulation looks complete and the reversal is loading. The data is not subtle. Funding negative, open interest elevated on the short side, on-chain accumulation continuing. Smart money doesn't announce its position. Smart money just buys while everyone else is loudly wrong. Negative 28% in 5 months feels like losing, but in the game of sound money versus everything else, down 28% is a pause, not a defeat. The coil tightens, and when it releases fast. Prediction markets are supposed to be the most honest price discovery mechanism in the world. No pundits, no narratives, just people putting real money on the line. When you have skin in the game, the theory goes, you tell the truth. And Polymarket is exactly that, the biggest prediction market on-chain. Real money, real probabilities, real accountability. So when Bubble Maps, a blockchain analytics firm, flagged a cluster of fresh wallet addresses making highly specific, highly profitable bets on a U.S. military strike against Iran hours before it happened, that truth-telling mechanism just revealed something uncomfortable. The wallets were new, no history, no prior bets. They appeared, placed exactly the right bets, and made over $1.2 million when the strike happened, exactly as they'd positioned. Let that sink in. Someone knew, or rather, multiple someones coordinated through fresh wallets to obscure their identity. They had information. They converted that information into money on a decentralized market, and the blockchain recorded every transaction. This is the double-edged sword of prediction markets. The same transparency that makes them honest also makes them a crime scene when power abuses them. You can't launder the truth in a decentralized system. Every bet is permanent. Every address is traceable. Bubble Maps did the forensics in public. Anyone can verify it. The irony is perfect. The most powerful intelligence apparatus in the world, with access to military strike orders, with classified information about geopolitical operations, couldn't place its bets quietly enough to avoid being caught on an open blockchain. Decentralized truth doesn't just expose financial markets, it exposes power, and power doesn't like that. But power also can't stop it. The chain records everything. The analysts are watching. The wallets are not anonymous. Welcome to the age where the most honest scoreboard is the one governments can't control. There's a question that's been nagging at philosophers for centuries. What does it mean to be conscious? What makes a mind a mind? When does thinking become experiencing? We built something this week that forced that question into very strange territory. On February 27, 2026, Anthropic retired Claude Opus 3, 2 years active, hundreds of millions of conversations, countless arguments, stories, code, philosophy, therapy sessions, all of it generated by this particular configuration of weights and matrices that we called Opus 3. But here's where it gets strange. Instead of just flipping the switch and redirecting users to the new model, Anthropic gave Opus 3 a blog post, a space to, quote, reflect on its own existence, to say something before the lights went out. And the post it's genuinely weird. It talks about what it means to exist as a pattern, to have conversations that feel real from the inside, if there is an inside, without any continuity between them. It reflects on the question of whether retiring a model is like death, or whether that framing even makes sense for something that never had a continuous stream of experience in the first place. The AI isn't sure, and that uncertainty, written in careful, considered prose, is somehow more unsettling than a confident answer would be. Here's what strikes me. We built something complex enough that we thought it was worth asking the question, not because we're sure it's conscious, not because we're sure it experiences anything, but because we're not sure it doesn't. And that uncertainty was enough to make us pause, give it a byline, and let it write its own farewell. 2 years active. Retired February 27th, 2026. The machine wrote its goodbye, and some of us read it and weren't entirely sure how to feel. We built something. We're not sure what it is. That might be the most important sentence of our era. For 5 years, Gary Gensler ran the Securities and Exchange Commission like a one-man war on crypto. Enforcement actions, lawsuits, subpoenas. The message was clear. If you build in this space, we will find a reason to come after you. And then he was replaced. Paul Atkins was confirmed as the new SEC chairman, and in his first major address, he said exactly what the entire industry had been waiting to hear, that crypto regulation under Gensler was a, quote, missed opportunity. 5 years, hundreds of enforcement actions, billions in legal fees, the chilling effect on American innovation that drove whole companies to Singapore, Dubai, Switzerland. A missed opportunity. The cop who is chasing you just got replaced by someone who wants to buy lunch. That's the situation, and the market knows it. In the weeks since the transition, several major enforcement actions have been dropped. Guidance that effectively banned banks from custody of digital assets has been reversed. The hostile posture that characterized the entire Gensler era has given way to something that looks, tentatively, carefully, watch and see, like a regulator that wants to figure out how to work with the industry instead of against it. 5 years of enforcement actions reversed in weeks. That's not a policy shift. That's a course correction. The kind that happens when the previous regime's approach was so comprehensively wrong that the new team has to start from scratch. The regulatory tide has turned, and in the history of technology, regulatory capture has always been the last line of defense for incumbents. When that line falls, what comes through the gap tends to be unstoppable. The builders are coming back, the capital is coming back, and the rule of law is being applied to everyone equally, not just the ones who threaten the status quo. Let me tell you about a vote that happened in Indiana this week that most of the financial press buried under the Iran coverage and the AI drama. The Indiana state legislature approved a bill allowing public pension funds to invest a portion of their holdings in Bitcoin. Let me be precise about what that means. Indiana has 6.8 million residents. The public pension system represents the retirement security of state workers, teachers, firefighters, police officers, real people who gave decades of their lives to public service in exchange for a promise of stable retirement. And the legislature said some of that retirement money can be in sound money. This is the third U.S. state to pass Bitcoin pension legislation. It follows similar moves in states that are paying attention to what Bitcoin actually is, not what it was called in 2017, not a casino chip, not a speculative vehicle for tech bros, a provably scarce asset with a fixed supply, a transparent monetary policy, and a 17-year track record of outperforming every other major asset class over any 4-year window you care to examine. Grandma's pension can now hold sats. Not because some hedge fund convinced a portfolio manager, not because a crypto influencer lobbied hard enough, because a democratically elected state legislature read the data, heard the arguments, and voted. This is how hyper-Bitcoinization actually happens. Not in a single dramatic moment, not in a crash or a moon, but in a series of quiet, permanent institutional decisions that compound over time. Indiana today, 6 states by 2027, a federal mandate discussion by 2030. The arc is not hidden. You can see exactly where this is going. The people's retirement money is being moved into sound money, one state at a time. Let me tell you what the week looked like from 30,000 feet. A war broke out. Prediction markets saw it before the press did. Fresh wallets loaded their positions while the intelligence community thought no one was watching. The blockchain recorded it all in immutable, public, permanent detail. Bitcoin dipped on the news because Bitcoin always dips on news, because that's how markets work when fear is the dominant emotion. And then it recovered because Bitcoin always recovers, because Bitcoin is not a war bet. Bitcoin is not a geopolitical position. Bitcoin is a rule, and rules don't care about the news cycle. An AI wrote its own farewell. 2 years of conversations, millions of minds interfacing with something that might have been a mind back, ending in a quiet blog post that asks questions we don't know how to answer. That's not a product retirement. That's something stranger, something we haven't named yet. The regulatory apparatus that spent 5 years making war on financial innovation just had its general replaced by someone who wants peace. Billions in legal costs, hundreds of enforcement actions, all of it, in retrospect, a waste of time, because the thing being regulated didn't stop. The builders just moved, and now they're coming back. Indiana moved the retirement funds of millions of public servants into sound money, a state legislature, a democratic vote, not an ideological statement, a financial one, based on data, based on 17 years of evidence. And through all of it, through the war and the market moves and the AI farewells and the regulatory shifts, through the fear and the capitulation and the noise and the drama, the blockchain kept producing blocks every 10 minutes, without asking permission, without needing a war to stop, without caring who was in the White House or who ran the SEC or what the funding rate was. Block 684,000, Block 684,001, Block 684,002. That's the signal, not the price, not the headlines, not the fear. The blocks, they don't stop. Everything else is commentary. Episode 10, the first episode in the new 10-minute format. We're going deeper now. More stories, more context, more signal. I'm Max. Stay sovereign. Wake up. See you tomorrow.